How's the chicken?
A bit bland. I should have gotten the beef curtains.
Beef medallions.
That's what I said. Beef curtains. And welcome back, Corkies, to episode 41 of Crips and Corks. I'm your host, DJ, here with my co-host,
Paul, as usual.
Paul. How are you?
I'm fine, we're out here, we're vibing, we're living the life.
Suffering through a heat wave.
Suffering through a heat wave, and it's gonna be a long fucking summer. And I'm a little scared this week.
Why?
Let me tell you why. So, I was on our good old YouTube, because we share a good old YouTube account.
Oh, Jesus.
Me and DJ share the Crips and Quarks YouTube account. Scrolling through the good old history.
We don't share it. It is our business account.
That's true. And what I found was some serious business, okay? Because I was scrolling through the Crips and Quarks YouTube history, and I see not one, not two, 6, maybe 10 car crash videos talking about how car crashes work, what happens during them.
First of all, you're getting it wrong. Most of them were crash test dummy videos. Second of all, can I defend myself here?
Sure.
First of all, I didn't know I was on the Crips and Corks YouTube. Third of all, I am writing a novel in my free time, and that I was doing research to see how a car accident would work for the novel. I do not watch those to unwind, and I apologize that I did it on the work account.
Needless to say, I will be driving for this foreseeable future, just in case.
I think I should be the one driving, considering I now know what happens.
No, I think you're coming for me. I think he's planning my car accident. I think he's looking for a Diana Part 2 for me.
Then I would just cut your brakes.
See? Y'all heard it here first. He's planning it, girls.
Oh my god.
If I go out in a car accident within the next 10 years,
10,
it's
that's such a wide range.
fine, 20. 30. Let's make it 30. So if I go out in a car accident in the next 40 years...
Oh, Jesus. It just keeps
it's
going
him, especially if it's Diana style. Because one thing about DJ is he likes it Diana style.
Jesus Christ.
Now for the part of the episode everyone's looking the most forward to. DJ, how was your week?
It was fine. I wanted to talk to you about, and we discussed this during the week at work, about what That's So Julia means.
Oh, That's So Julia!
What does it mean to you?
So what So Julia means, it really comes from Charlie XCX's song, 360, where she says, I'm everywhere, I'm so Julia. And if something is so Julia, it means she's fierce, she's cute, it's everything. If your shirt is so Julia, it's everything. What does so Julia mean to you?
So I brought this up to you at work. I have a very, very niche idea of what That's So Julia means.
Okay.
And whenever I hear That's So Julia, all I can think of is Julia the Younger, who was the daughter of the first Roman Emperor Augustus. And let me tell you why.
Okay.
So Julia had a really rough life despite being the eldest daughter of the emperor, because Augustus was married to her mother, and then her mother gave birth to her, and Augustus divorced her the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of sent Julia off, but he didn't want her, but she had to conform to his ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually Augustus passed these wide sweeping morality laws in Rome, to sort of what a family should be, and how families ought to act, kind of like the Republican Party. And Julia was not having these laws saying that all people had to conform to one idea of what is acceptable in relationships and families. So to protest her father's laws, she hosted a 5-day long orgy in her house.
Period. Good for her.
And that's what That's So Julia means to me.
You know, I can tell that has a special place in your heart, and you can really relate to that.
Yeah. What's more Julia than a 5-day orgy to protest conservative laws?
That's so true. You know what? I'm here for that. And it's crazy that you know that. Like, that is such a random thing to know.
In college, I took a Roman history class.
Oh.
That's how I got to Rome.
Wow.
I had to take the class to get to Rome.
Oh.
That's how I'm so well traveled. Most of the foreign trips I've been on is because I took a class where I got to go on the trip.
Okay, money. Get into it.
Well,
Okay, Rich. World traveler.
But if you go with like a college or a school, you do get some discounts. It's a little cheaper than going on your own and booking everything yourself.
Girl, the only place I traveled in college was the clinic. And I had some freaking flyer miles there, honey.
Oh my god. Sorry, I lost my hot guy of the month.
Yes. Speaking of hot guy of the month, I guess it's that time of the week, y'all, for this month's hot guy of the month.
Oh, I was going to ask you to vamp because I lost my fact and I was looking for it.
It's fine because I think of Tom Daly on the daily.
Oh
Have
my
you
god.
guys ever
See, I found my fact again.
Okay.
But there is a Instagram. I follow Tom Daly on Instagram. I like all of his posts because I do love him. But there's this Instagram where it takes his videos and it just posts them on their own page. And I always like it thinking it's him, and then I'm like, oh shit, it's called Daily.
Oh, it's one of those fan accounts.
Yes, and I'm just like, it's Daily again.
Girl, and those fan accounts are crazy because they're like, if you love me, put a like down below. Can't I even get like 500 likes for Tom? And it's so clickbaity, those fan accounts. It's crazy. And I bet you there's some people who think those fan accounts are actually them too. It's crazy out here.
Yeah, and like that's the thing because they like take Tom's Instagram videos and they post them themselves. And so I just think
they're thieves.
Yes, and I always in the comments it's like, oh, look at Tom and what he does, blah 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 blah. But I like it thinking it's like his video that he put out or his photo, and then I look and I go, this is Daily, and I immediately hit unlike.
You said fuck. Not again.
Because I'm not following a fan site. I'm following him because I'm a fan of him.
Exactly. We support the original content creators on this podcast.
Yes. So our fact about Hot Guy of the Month, Tom Daly, today is that in the 2022 New Year's honors in the United Kingdom, Tom Daly was appointed as an officer of the Order of the British Empire for services to diving, LGBTQ plus rights, and charity. And he was presented that award by Her Late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
I don't know her, but Tom sounds cool. Good for you being an officer.
Yeah, like you can see some pictures and he's like cheesing with his little medal. Did you get a medal?
Oh, for being an officer?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a rank in like the war. It's an award and you like get a rank.
Okay, so he's ranked like an officer.
Yes, which is like
so
one of the lower. It's like the entry level. And then the more you do, you can like rise up the ranks.
Okay. And what are these ranks of? Is this like the military?
No, it's an award. It's like it's an award from the government. And so he's awarded. The award is being a part of this, and you get a medal, and you're part of this order.
Okay.
Like a knighthood. And you get the medal, and I think the lowest is a member. He is an officer. And then I think the next rank is like a knight. So if he gets that, he would be Sir Tom Daly.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets like a sash and he gets like a big star. I make it sound like really kitschy, but it's like really nice because like England has a lot of different awards for different things. But the Order of the British Empire is like the biggest one, the broadest one. Like, you do anything, you can get this award.
Okay.
It's like the
Well-
Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Oh, okay. See, sometimes you just gotta explain it to me in American. Because I
See,
went to American public school.
I was waiting for me to say like the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and you went, oh, and then I was waiting for you to say, what is that?
No, I went to public school in America. I know
Your
what that
public school
is.
talked about that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And what about it?
I was lucky that my public school taught us the Bill of Rights.
Well, actually, I can't even say that because we had a government class. Did I pay attention? No, because I don't care, but...
I could have taken government my senior year, but I decided after taking 2 years of American history and reading about the government on my own that I wanted to take world cultures instead.
See, that's crazy. American government was required at my school. Maybe that's just a Maryland thing.
I think it should be. It was my senior year.
We had to take the HSA.
What's the HSA?
The high school assessment. We had to pass like a government one, a math one. We had to pass a science one to graduate.
Here,
Maybe it was the MSA.
so
Maryland
here
State
I had the
Oh,
PSS.
fucking no.
So I was a PSSA kid. That was like
Oh my gosh, wow.
so
I
that
don't
was
know what that is.
that was like the standardized test throughout my time in high school. And then, but here's the thing:
Oh.
around when I was in 10th grade, the state started shifting to the Keystone tests. So my last 3 years in high school, I had to take the PSSAs and the Keystones, and it wasn't until after I got out of high school that they did away with the PSSAs.
Okay, so I had the MSA then, which is Maryland, and yours was P for Pennsylvania. Wow. Crazy. It all comes together.
I don't know what the other. I know Pennsylvania State School Assessment.
And sometimes we take that DSA at the TSA. Oh, girl.
Let's drink.
Okay, cool.
This week we're drinking a 11. Sorry, the label says something different than what it said in the thing. So this is a red blend. It is from Rocky Pond Estate Winery. It is a 2021 11 Dams Rocky Reach, which is a red blend.
I've had a few rocky reaches.
And it is 51% Malbec, 49% Cabernet Sauvignon, which is so funny because I tried so hard not to pick up a Cabernet Sauvignon because that's all we seem to drink on this podcast.
Right. There's a lot of them out there.
I know, and it's my favorite wine, but I don't pick it intentionally. It's just they seem to have the best labels.
Tea.
Rocky Pond Estate Winery is located on the shores of the mighty Columbia River in Washington State. We create estate wines of distinction from our sustainably framed vineyards. It's all about the experiences.
Ooh.
So hopefully this time I will not break the cork because there is no backup wine.
Well, the people don't know about that.
Yeah, it was... Fuck.
Well, we're re-recording that, so that is another story for another time. That's gonna uncorked story. That can be an uncorked story. There.
An even nice pop.
That was a nice pop.
Let me take your glass first.
Good old ASMR pour.
Oops. There you are.
Thank you.
Paul casually admiring himself in the camera.
Cheers.
That's interesting.
I don't mind. It's fine. It's nothing crazy. It's definitely dry. It's nothing crazy.
It's a little dry.
I'm gonna go 3.5 grapes.
I'm going to go with 4.
4?
Yes.
Okay. 3.5. She's not too bad. Go pick yourself up some of this Rocky Pond wine,
11
y'all.
dams.
11 Dams. Rocky Pond Estate Winery. 11 Dams. Get into it.
All right, Paul, without a further ado, let me tell you a story.
Let's get into it, yeah?
We have all heard of the Bermuda Triangle, an area of mysterious occurrences and disappearance in the middle of the ocean, a place globally feared and perplexing for the things that go on there. But what if I told you there was another triangle like that, much closer to home? A triangle that isn't over water with no permanent inhabitants, just planes and ships passing through, but a triangle over land, encompassing towns, communities, and homes. A triangle which has seen the darkest of humanity, the most perplexing of otherworldly sights, and even evil emanating from its heart. Today we'll discuss the Bridgewater Triangle.
Period. Okay, this sounds crazy. So this is like the Bermuda Triangle over land.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds crazy.
And so because I bought these books and I did research from them, I am going to plug them.
Okay, get into it.
One is Tales from the Hockomock Swamp, a comprehensive guide to navigating and surviving the Bridgewater Triangle by the Wampanoag River Coalition.
Well, it's been so hot lately. I think I have my own Hockomock swamp downstairs.
And the other one is Ghost of the Bridgewater Triangle by Christopher Balzano.
So this is like a widely known thing because
Yes,
I know
this is a thing.
I know nothing about this.
Well, you're not from New England. Like up there, it's very well known. But like getting into, as you get deeper into the paranormal as we go on, you'll start to like hear some of these stories over and over again, like that we cover.
Okay.
So
period.
like Bobby Mackey's, you'll like have other things that are less known, but to you, it'll just be like, oh, okay.
Okay, so the Bridgewater Triangle in the paranormal community is a very well-known thing.
It should be.
Okay, period. All right.
We're adding to that. I do have some trigger warnings for this episode.
Okay.
This episode will include mentions of slavery, genocide, war, murder, suicide, and animal sacrifice.
Gee, okay.
They're
going crazy.
It's all very brief. All of these mentions are very brief, so I'm not going to recommend leaving and coming back next week.
Okay.
Just know that they are in there.
I didn't know the Bridgewater Triangle came from that way. That's crazy.
So stay, and if something like affects you, feel free to skip over to the next part of the story. So Paul, let's start at the basics.
Okay.
The Bridgewater Triangle is a 200,000 square mile area in southeast Massachusetts. It is formed by 3 points, and the 3 points are the towns of Abington, Freetown, and Rehoboth.
Like Rehoboth Beach?
No.
Delaware? Okay.
Rehoboth, Massachusetts. This is all in Massachusetts.
Oh, it's all in Massachusetts.
Yes.
Okay.
Here, I will show you.
Girl, I'm gonna be real honest with you and the people in the audience.
I'm going to show you a picture.
Okay, so Massachusetts, it's like by Rhode Island.
Yes.
Okay. Period. Okay.
And I'll share the screen.
The way before this, I could not find Massachusetts on a map is crazy.
Yeah, it's north of Connecticut, south of Maine.
That's where Salem is.
Yeah, Salem is in Massachusetts.
Is it in the triangle?
It is not in the triangle.
Well, fuck.
But I think one of the towns... Hang on, I'm trying to get back to my notes. I think one of the towns that is in the triangle used to be part of the Salem. I can't get back to my notes.
Technology is crazy, guys.
I think somewhere it mentioned that Salem was part of that, but there are a couple callbacks to other We're just going to close this out and try and reopen it.
Well, speaking of technological difficulties...
Testicular difficulties.
Y'all should go listen to Sabrina Carpenter's new song. Please, please, please. Go clock her and Barry Keoghan in that video because iconic. Barry Keoghan looks so good in that video. Also, another thing we should probably discuss on the pod while he's suffering from his difficulties.
And we're back.
Oh, well, we'll save it for Uncorked.
Do you want to finish that statement?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
We'll plug Uncorked. Go watch Uncorked and I'll tell you what I was thinking.
The term, the Bridgewater Triangle, was first coined by paranormal researcher and author Loren Coleman in his 1983 book, Mysterious America.
Okay.
The area is a hotspot for paranormal occurrences of all kinds, from hauntings, cryptid sightings, UFO sightings and encounters, heightened crime and suicide rates, and cult activity.
That's crazy.
Before we get much more into the story, I would like to give a caveat that today's episode is not just one story. It is a taste testing buffet of stories.
Okay, that sounds great. I love a good Outback Steakhouse. I love a Ponderosa, so I'll be right at home.
Mm-hmm. I want to give you a little history of the area. Just a brief overview of what took place in the land before we get into everything.
Okay.
The area was originally inhabited by the Wampanoag Nation. This tribe lived in much of southeast Massachusetts, from Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, all the way down to Bristol, Rhode Island. So they lived in a huge, vast tract of area. They first came into contact with Europeans in the 1500s when European merchants and trappers would traverse through the area. But it was not until 1620 that the first permanent European settlers arrived, when the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock and began to settle Plymouth colony. They were helped by Tisquantum, a member of the Patuxet band of the tribe. It was a big nation, and then there were little groups within.
Okay.
So Tisquantum was a member of this. He was kidnapped by Spanish missionaries, which is how he eventually learned English. And he had come back north on an expedition to find that his people were all wiped out. And he moved into the Wampanoag area by Plymouth. And he served as an interpreter for the Pilgrims and as a go-between between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoags. Led by Sancham, or Chief Massasoit.
Okay. And
you probably have heard about him in American history class by the name he's more commonly known, Squanto.
Squanto! Okay, all right, I know about some Squanto.
According to American legend, the tribe and settlers celebrated the harvest together in 1621 in what is now known as Thanksgiving. I do want to say the Wampanoag people today question the veracity of this event.
I've seen that. Yeah. I get it.
But despite that, the Wampanoags and the Pilgrims lived side by side fairly peacefully, with the Pilgrims even nursing Massasoit when he was gravely ill at one point, and aiding the Wampanoags when they were attacked by another tribe.
That's good. Hey.
Following Massasoit's death and that of his eldest son, Wamsuta, or Alexander, and the thing was, Massasoit converted to Christianity, and he asked that his sons be given Christian names. So his eldest son, Wamsuta, was named Alexander, but he died. And when he died, his younger son, Menacomet, who was also known as Philip, became chief, and therefore he became known as King Philip.
Oh, okay.
Now, Philip saw the ever-growing number of colonists as a threat to his people's future and began to build alliances with other local tribes, as the Wampanoag tribe had drastically shrunk following years of disease from the first time they met Europeans. So before the Pilgrims even got there, they started to get ill from their brief contact with French merchants. Historians believe it was with French merchants because the disease they had was really a French disease and not so much an English disease.
That's sad.
So the colonists were growing, the Wampanoags were shrinking. He was like, what's going to stop them from like just pushing us out of here? And in 1675, John Sassamon, who was a Wampanoag who converted to Christianity and attended Harvard, reported to colonial leaders that King Philip planned to make war. Less than a week later, he was murdered and found in Assawamsett Pond. The colonists lynched 3 Wampanoag warriors for the murder and started a guerrilla war between the Wampanoags, their allies, and the colonists, which often involved the slaughter of civilian women and children. 2,500 colonists were killed in the war, and that was 5% of their total population. 4,000 Native Americans were killed, and that was 40% of their total population. By the end of the war, only 400 Wampanoags remained alive. In the spring of 1676, the war turned against King Philip, and his wife and 9-year-old son were actually captured and sold into slavery. Shortly after, in August of that year, Philip himself was caught by the colonists and shot, beheaded, and quartered, and his head stood on a pike in Plymouth for 20 years.
Okay, so already this history is insane. Lots of death. So maybe this land was just like cursed from all of this death, war, conflict. Like, it's already not looking good.
Keep that in mind. Shortly after King Philip was executed, his general Anawan surrendered to Captain Benjamin Church on the condition that the Wampanoags would be treated fairly and he would be spared execution because he was already an elderly man.
Okay.
Church agreed, however, while the Wampanoags and Anawan were being transferred to Plymouth, Anawan was executed, his head was placed beside Philip's, and the remaining Wampanoags were sold into slavery.
Okay, that's awful. Fuck that. That is
And
terrible.
it wasn't that Church had turned on them. Mm-hmm. Church like made an honest to God deal. It was he rode ahead and somebody else gave orders for them to be executed.
Oh, so they didn't get those orders, and they didn't know that.
Yeah, they didn't get it from the guy who took the surrender. They got him from somebody else.
Okay.
But what Church did do was he stole or took. He might have taken as war loot the tribe's wampum, and what a wampum is it's a belt with intricate beading.
Okay.
And this was the tribe's only type of written history. This was hugely sacred to the Wampanoag tribe. Mm-hmm. Like, this was passed down generation from Sancham to Sancham, and Church took it, and since then, it's been lost.
I don't fuck with that. That's shitty. I hate when we lose pieces of history like that to just, like, people just being inconsiderate and being stupid fucks. Like,
so, yes, and to, like, give you a good comparison, this is as, like, the only copy of the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights were all just lost. The only copies.
See, that pisses me off. I don't mess with that.
And now all you have is this oral tradition of, well, I think it gave us the freedom to bear arms so we can wear shirtless shirts.
That makes me mad. I'm mad about it.
So that's a little bit of the backstory about the land. I'm not going to get into the whole evolution of the white people because who cares?
Exactly.
It's the same anywhere. Like, you can look it up, but, like,
we know what happened, girl. Like, we can.
The white people came in, they took it over, they farmed, and then they had factories, and then they built suburbs.
Right. It's all very boring.
And now this area, it's totally inhabited. So the first place that I want to talk about is the Hockomock Swamp.
Ooh.
The Hockomock Swamp is the very beating heart of the triangle. It is a 17,000 acre swamp, almost dead center of the triangle. And the word Hockomock is Algonquin for place where spirits dwell, alternatively translated as devil's place or demon's place.
Oh my god. Okay. First things first, I want to address.
Yes.
So when you think of swamp in America, you usually just think of down south. So I think it's interesting that there's like swamp area that far north.
Yes. So what it is a river runs through it, the Taunton River, and there are a couple side rivers that I'm not going to get into. But what makes it a swamp is that the land throughout it is very marshy, it's very wet, very easy to sink through. It's not like that Louisiana swamp, whereas there's that little bit of water with vegetation and stuff growing out of it. It's much more wet ground.
And if you like know about the Louisiana swamp, like that's haunted too. So maybe there's just something about swamps that make for a good energy ground for ghosts and spooky things to happen.
Yes.
Now, the second thing I wanted to address right quick.
Okay, perfect. So this is a picture of the Hockomock Swamp. And you can see what I mean. It's very wet, but you can see ground.
Wait, you can, yes, very that. It almost looks like if like the woods around where we are in the Appalachian Mountains were to be flooded. Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Very much that.
Yeah.
So
forward.
The Wampanoags used it as a burial ground and was the site of some of their most important ceremonies. This was a hugely sacred place to them.
When the Wampanoags were there, like in their prime, was it a swamp area?
Yes.
Okay.
And we know this because during King Philip's War, that was the name of the war with the colonists.
Okay.
I forgot to mention that because that's the whole reason why I called him King Philip. And not Metacomet.
Period.
They used this place as a refuge and a staging area for the battles because for generations they had been going in the swamp. The colonists would come in and they would just sort of like sink in a sinkhole. And in the book, the Guide to the Hockomock Swamp, it's a bunch of guys who go kayaking through there all the time, and they just keep mentioning you like it's impossible to just like run through there because eventually, like best case scenario, you fall in a sinkhole that comes up to your chest.
That's so scary.
Worst case, think about it, like worst case, you go down and you just don't come back up.
Right, you just like suffocate.
Yeah.
That's so spooky. It's giving quicksand.
Exactly. So hugely sacred, and it's kind of got left, and I'm going to tell you why. It's spooky AF.
Okay, period.
So let me start with some of the sightings in here. There are many Bigfoot sightings in the swamp.
Okay, but like would the Bigfoot sink though? Why would the Bigfoot be there if they're gonna sink too?
But if that's their home, they know how not to not to step where you sink.
Okay, that makes sense. In
1970, a group of Bigfoot feet went ham. Like they just went ham and started like killing cows and sheep in the surrounding area, like off the chain. And it started this huge police search. Like hunters were going in there, police were going in there with dogs, and they couldn't find anything conclusive. But one police officer did report that a Bigfoot creature lifted the back of the police cruiser he was in off the ground. Like picked up the back bumper and lifted the back of the car off the ground while he was in the car.
So this policeman saw a Bigfoot and it lifted the police car he was in off the ground.
Yes.
That's insane.
Bigfoot can also be seen in the nearby in Bridgewater on the shores of two ponds called Claybank 1. And can you guess what the second one's called?
Claybank 5.
Claybanks 2. Joseph DeAndrade had a sighting of the creature on the bank of one of the ponds across from him, and he has since become a leader in the research and the promotion of the Hockomock Swamp as a paranormal activity since. And like he still like gives interviews and like does expeditions in there. And I watched a documentary on this, And he's so cool because in all his pictures, he kind of dresses up like a African big game hunter, like in a movie. Mm-hmm. Like with the safari jacket with all the pockets and the hat. And he has this really thin mustache. He looks really cool.
He sounds like Nigel Thornberry.
No, not... So he definitely wears the shirt that Nigel Thornberry wears. Mm-hmm. But, like, he doesn't have that weird mustache. It's, like, very thin.
Oh, my God.
Like a 1930s mustache.
Also, comment down below if you remember the Thornberries.
I love the Thornberries.
Oh, my...
West Bridgewater resident John Baker also had a sighting of Bigfoot in the swamp on a nighttime hunting trip.
Oh, I had a few nighttime humping trips.
It was a hunting trip, and he couldn't exactly see it. It was more of an encounter than a sighting. Mm-hmm. But it kept going past him.
Wait, hold up. What's the difference between an encounter and a sighting?
In this instance, a sighting is where you see the creature.
Okay.
In this instance, he did not see the creature, but he could hear and sort of feel it moving all around him in the woods.
Okay.
And I don't mean like far away. I mean like he's like walking and he feels like somebody, and then he feels somebody go, and he feels somebody go.
That's spooky.
Like it's close
like
to him,
that.
like it's moving really close all around him.
I wouldn't.
But
like
the
that.
thing was, he could smell it.
Oh my God.
And he described the smell as not human, and he said you could just smell that this thing lived in the dirt.
It smelled like a Hollister.
It smelled like a swamp.
It smelled like that Urban Outfitters honey.
Moving on from Big Feet, if you look above the swamp, you may see impossibly big flying creatures. They're sometimes referred to as thunderbirds, and these huge...
Sorry, go keep going.
These huge winged creatures are often seen flying over the swamp or over nearby communities. Alternatively, they're described as oversized birds of prey like eagles, hawks, or as pterodactyls.
We love a good pterodactyl.
In 1971...
But actually, I take that back. We don't love pterodactyls because they're Republican. They're the Republicans.
Oh, Jesus.
If you remember... You remember Ogopogo, where we said pterodactyls were the...
winged dinosaurs.
No, they're the freedom birds of the dinosaurs.
If dinosaurs still existed,
yes.
What would the American bird be? And you said freedom pterodactyl.
Freedom pterodactyl, exactly.
That was my pterodactyl
I just got flashbacks from last night. Oh my God.
That was my pterodactyl shriek. I like how my tongue had a stick out of my mouth when I did it. In 1971, Norton police officer Downey witnessed one of these creatures with a 12-foot wingspan while driving on Winter Street in Mansfield. That is 2 tall men.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's huge.
But isn't it like a Thunderbird, like its whole topic by itself? Like,
yes.
Isn't that like a whole thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Which we will cover, I'm sure, in some episode.
Yes.
But, like, they are described as Thunderbirds.
Girl. I'm looking at this video right now, and I'm so in the dark, and you're so in the light, which honestly tracks.
I mean, if you want, you could probably turn that onto light and you get another light source.
No, it tracks. You very much are the light one, and I'm the dark one.
Yeah, because you said, like, initially you were like, I'm wearing black. Mm-hmm. And the outfit that I was going to bring, I was like, okay, if he's wearing black, I'll wear white. And then we agreed to wear the shirts again.
I am the spookier of the two.
Yeah, you're like, we're going out. We should dress for the brand. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't think the brand is popular enough to get me a husband yet.
That's...
Also, I'm like moving out of my dark clothes area into my like whites, tans, and taupe era.
See, I've just entered my dark clothes era. It's just getting darker from here.
Back to this, because I have so much to cover.
Okay.
During the Great Depression, the Civilian Conservation Corps went into the woods to carry out work to try and make it viable for development. This was one of many times that they tried and failed to do this. And the CCC soon were run out of the swamp by the sighting of huge snakes described as being the width of stovepipes. So, and that's like this,
That's crazy.
if not bigger.
That's like bigger than a
Like-
python, I think.
Yes. So like that horror movie, Anaconda with the giant snakes, those. That's are what are seen in here.
That's crazy.
Also seen in the area is the Mansfield mystery cat, which is a large cat often described as looking like a mountain lion or a panther. Some people have seen a tan or yellow one, and some people have seen a black one. And what's most frightening is that they will see the tan one and the black one at the same time. There's not just one.
That's just James Mansfield when they haven't shaved.
Jesus. Also in the area are ravenous canines, huge, bloodthirsty wolves or dogs with glowing red eyes can be seen all throughout the area stalking. In 1976, an Abington resident named Kane watched as one of these creatures, the size of a horse, attacked his two ponies, tore out their throats. He shot at the creature but missed, and the canine just looked at him before walking calmly into the swamp while looking at him.
That's giving Beast of Shavadon.
Right? One of the main water sources of the swamp is Lake Nippenicket, also called the Nip.
Girl,
The locals call it the
that's
Nip.
where they filmed that show Nip Tuck.
Many people receive, and in the center of the lake, there is an island that's not inhabited. It's pretty small. But many people report seeing Redford orangutan-like creatures on the island. Other people will spot phantom fires either on the island or on opposite banks, only to go there and find no fire, no embers, no cinders, no smoke.
Okay, the Phantom Fires is giving like Native American ghosts to me.
And they'll go back to the other side of the lake and see the fire again.
Okay, that's crazy. That's spooky.
Raynham Dog Track is another hotbed of activity, and not just because they race dogs. We do not support dog racing on this podcast.
Period.
But many patrons report seeing spook lights or mysterious orbs of light traversing the abandoned railroad outside.
That's interesting.
There are a ton of stories about mysterious orbs of light. And through this, and I could have included more of them, but the thing is, they're only influential when you take them all together.
Okay.
Because they float, they look sentient, they disappear. And there are so many other stories.
Okay.
But the Hockomock Swamp also has UFO activity.
Period.
In 1908, two undertakers were riding through the night on a horsebound carriage when over top of them they saw a lantern-shaped craft on Halloween night.
Okay, that's weird that it's on Halloween. Maybe it wasn't a UFO. Maybe it was something paranormal.
In 1979, WHDH reporter Steve Sabrasha and Jerry Lopes were driving to the Raynham track when they spotted an arrow-shaped craft floating above nearby trees before suddenly shooting off. This was just one of many sightings over the course of that year, which was an absolute high point for sightings in the area of UFOs.
Okay.
And that, yes.
Isn't there a high, people have cited UFOs over the regular Bermuda Triangle too, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that tracks.
So now we're going to leave the Hockomock Swamp and get into some ghost and hauntings.
Yes, I love that.
And so the first place we're going to visit for this is Taunton State Hospital.
Ooh.
It is a former psychiatric hospital built along the lines of the Kirkbride plan, like Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Okay.
It was first opened in 1854, and in 1892, it's got its most famous patient when Lizzie Borden was admitted for 3 days following the murder of her father and stepmother. When I said there are so many callbacks to previous episodes.
Lizzie Borden was there?
Lizzie Borden was
That's
there.
crazy.
Because guess what? Fall River falls into the triangle.
Bitch, that's crazy. Girl.
For years. Like, so it was it was a beautiful building when it was built. Like, because the Kirkbride plan was all about building beautiful, not only beautiful light structures, but having beautiful landscape lands for the patients to take in nature to heal themselves. So it was a beautiful place. The lands were beautifully landscaped. And for many years, local residents would actually just walk the grounds like a park.
Okay.
One resident, Sarah, said, quote, growing up down the street, we loved to walk around by there. But there were places that just felt wrong. We would walk and then we would look at each other and want to leave. The place is evil, unquote. One ghost who is often seen on the grounds is that of an elderly man in a white shirt and dark work pants who is often seen bending down to stroke the grass, and he is believed to be the spirit of a former groundskeeper.
Okay.
Who probably took so much pride in this land, and even now his ghost is coming back and sort of tending to it.
That's reminding me of Carl a little bit, because Carl from Bobby Mackey's, how he cared so much for that. I wouldn't be surprised if Carl...
Ghost... Is he dead?
He is dead. Okay. Rest in peace, Carl.
Does his ghost go back there?
I wouldn't be surprised if Carl still tended to the land at Bobby Mackey's, but we're calling back to previous episodes in this episode, so I just wanted to say that real quick.
One patient escaped to a nearby cemetery where he felt somebody touch him, only to turn and see no one there. He then heard somebody hiss, "Leave." He was so scared, he actually ran back to the hospital and turned himself back in.
That's crazy.
He was clear, and he got so spooked he went back.
He said, I'm sorry, guys. I won't do it again.
The basement is rumored to have been used for cult activity as far back as its time as a psychiatric hospital, and former workers have described a dark, foreboding presence down there. Okay. And, like, people say, like, if you go down there, like, even when it was still, like, in operation, you'd go down there and you'd see, like, satanic paintings on the walls.
They said the same thing about Bobby Mackey's, and I've been watching Ghost Adventures, and you'd be surprised, like, how many places like that claim that there was satanic activity or cult activity. Like, it makes me wonder how much of it is actually real and how much is actually like, okay, this is what people are scared of. People are starting rumors.
Keep that in the back of your mind.
Okay.
Last ghost of Taunton State Hospital. Many people have also experienced a shadowy man who appears in their room, seems to be oddly stretched tall, like stretched.
Slender man.
He seems to crawl along the walls. Like, it's not like he's moving in 3D, it's like along the walls.
I don't like that. That's scary. That's spooky, bitch. I don't fuck with that.
And stares at you from the corner of the room.
Ew.
Now we're going to get into some haunted cemeteries.
Okay, ready for that, period.
These are like quick flybys.
Okay, ready for it.
Riverside Cemetery in Fairhaven. Resident Maggie went to the cemetery with her brother and his friend with a Ouija board. As they were playing it, it kept coming up F-A-G.
Same.
And they laughed, thinking one of them was making a joke. Until they were leaving and saw that the grave that they were near had the initials F-A-G.
Ooh, girl, I thought they were saying slurs. I was like, oh shit, okay.
St. Stephen's Cemetery in Attlesboro is home to a ghost family of a man, woman, and a little girl named Doris, who can be seen skipping along the graves and heard singing. One man reported that as he was leaving, he heard a little girl in the empty cemetery say, "Please don't go, I'm lonely."
That's scary.
I don't like that. I like got shivers as I said it.
I'm like, girl, no ma'am.
Oak Grove Cemetery in Fall River is the site of the final resting place of Lizzie Borden and her slain father and stepmother. One family reported that they went to the cemetery after touring the Borden house. As soon as they passed through the gates, their radio cut out to static. After visiting the graves of the Bordens, which are located not too far from the entrance, they decided that they were going to drive further in the cemetery, thinking like there was probably a roundabout rather than trying to reverse out. But they got lost for 15 minutes and seemed to be passing the same landmarks over and over again. And once they got out of the cemetery, they were so scared they left Fall River altogether.
That's so crazy.
Mount Hope Cemetery in North Attleboro has a statue of Jesus with outstretched arms that if you stare at it long enough, it will start to move. It is also said that the statue will leave the cemetery on the Saturday night before Easter between midnight and 3 a.m. and reappear in time for Easter morning.
I need to see that in person. See, things like that I need to see for myself, okay? I'm not going to believe that shit until I see it in person.
And last, Ellis Bowl Cemetery has apparitions of 5 bodies hanging from the trees at the back of the cemetery and are reportedly linked to either King Philip's War or the Revolution.
Period. Okay.
Next, we're going to move to the town of Rehoboth. It is a whole hotbed of paranormal activity and is said that few towns have so many haunted places in such a small area. In fact, Rehoboth seems to have more cemeteries than houses.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like I was watching this documentary and they were like, it was like a fluke of like the town planning where like all the cemeteries for the region just got placed in this one town. And like they're just like cemeteries on every street.
We need to go there.
Palmer River Burial Ground has the ghost of a grotesque little boy in it. Like people say like they see him and he's a little boy, but there's something wrong.
Ooh.
Yikes. And like one lady, like this is an old burial ground, like dating back to the early 1700s. And this woman was like walking through it and she was like, oh my God, all these are so old. And she heard a little boy say, we're not all old.
Girl, that's so spooky.
And Old Village Cemetery, also in Rehoboth, is known for the unnatural feeling of the woods that border it, which leave people feeling uneasy and as if they're being watched. Rehoboth is also said to be the founding point of public education. At one point, it actually had 13 one-room schoolhouses. The only one left is the Hornbein School on Hornbein Road. Okay. One woman was approaching the school, and she looked in the windows to see a teacher in class all in period clothing, and she thought that it was a reenactment. She decided that she was going to go inside to watch, but the door was locked. She returned to the side and looked through the window to see that the class was still there, but the teacher was now looking at her, made eye contact, and just slowly vanished with the class.
That's crazy.
Another woman who lived 20 minutes away, and she just felt a real draw to the school. She was like, I think I went to the school in another life, and I would often just go there to meditate and be. And she would park a couple streets over so she could walk as if she was walking to school. Mm-hmm. And as she was walking, she saw and it was dusk, so she saw a dark figure, which isn't that weird because it's dusk.
Yeah.
Approach the school and enter it. Once she arrived, she found the door locked and the schoolhouse empty.
That's spooky, bitch.
Another really haunted place in Rehoboth are the ruins of the Shade Factory. It was a once prosperous cotton mill, which was destroyed in a catastrophic fire in 1884. One couple would often, and it's right by a pond, so it's really picturesque. Okay. One couple often walked there at dusk. One night they saw a man in an 18th century black suit sadly staring at the ruins. They called out to him, but he disappeared. The next night they saw him again, but when they called out to him, he looked up before disappearing. A week later, the woman went on this walk alone and saw the man, and when she called out to him, he disappeared and reappeared behind her, and she ran away.
I hate that. That's some horror movie shit.
She saw him once more a year later when the same thing occurred. She called out to him. He disappeared. He reappeared behind her, but this time she stared him down and he just faded away.
I'm glad she stood her ground the next time. That's some girl power. She heard that new Katy Perry song. Girl, did you hear that new Katy Perry song?
I think so.
She said, sexy, confident. Girl,
Amen.
that shit sucks.
Do you know who has sexy confidence? Massachusetts' most famous haunting, the red-headed hitchhiker.
Oh, sounds kind of hot.
On Route 44, this ghostly hitchhiker is often seen. He is always described as wearing a flannel shirt, dark denim or dark work pants,
Okay.
and having thick curly red hair and a beard. Sometimes he will be on the side of the road, hitching, and once you stop, he will climb into the car, sit silently, and fade away.
That's so spooky.
Other times, people will be driving along the road and will report that the hitchhiker suddenly appears in their passenger or rear seat while the car is in motion.
I bet there's a lot of car crashes because of that.
And other people report that the man will appear in the road out of nowhere. They will plow into him, stop because they just hit somebody, but find no body, no blood, and no signs of anyone being there. And these encounters are often described as coming to an end with him laughing or taunting his victim, either from the ether, like you can't see him, but you can hear him, or through the radio.
That's so scary. I wonder if that's what inspired the first episode of Supernatural, because the first episode of Supernatural was about a ghostly figure like that.
Another road-related haunting in the Triangle is the Mad Trucker of Connecut Road. And it is this really, really backwoods road where it goes from paved to dirt. Mm-hmm. And people will be driving along it when all of a sudden this pickup truck will appear out of nowhere behind them, honking, flashing their high beams, eventually running you off the road. But when you turn, like after you get run off the road into the bushes, you look and there's no one on the road.
That's crazy. I don't know why these ghosts are so obsessed with the motorways.
And now we have to visit Massachusetts' other most famous ghost. How could we visit the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and not visit our good Judy, Lizzie Borden?
So Lizzie Borden was in the Bridgewater Triangle.
Yes. Fall River.
That's crazy.
Is part, so a bit of Fall River is in the triangle. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, it's not a perfect triangle. Like all the communities that it passes through, the whole community experiences it.
Okay, that makes sense.
So even though on a map you draw as a perfect triangle, it's more those communities. So here are a couple ghostly stories that I found that we have not yet discussed about Lizzie Borden.
Okay.
A mother and son decided that they were going to stay there in an attempt to bond with one another. Once checked in, the son went into the bathroom where the faucet turned on by itself. But him and his mother decided that they were going to brave it out. In the middle of the night, 3 women staying in the Morse bedroom where Abby was killed came running out of the room screaming and promptly checked out of the house to find a different hotel somewhere else.
Okay.
Another man was staying the night when he woke up to an invisible presence holding him down for several minutes. Once he was released, he went into the bathroom and used the pear-scented soap. It should be noted, Lizzie loved pears. He suddenly felt her angry presence in there with him, and he heard a woman's voice in his say, "What can you throw but not catch?"
Dick.
Your voice.
Oh.
Before laughing hysterically and fading out of his head.
Girl, she really thought she did something with that. She said, let me throw down some
But isn't
riddles.
that the most Victorian spinster thing ever to say this bad joke?
Right.
I'm going to scare you. What can you throw but not catch? Your voice.
Right. She really thought she did something.
One visitor and her parents were touring the house when the father noticed a candlestick was askew on the mantelpiece and fixed it. As they were leaving the room, they heard a thud and turned to see the candlestick had been thrown off the mantel onto the floor in the middle of the room. And one guest named Bernie was staying in the Morse room, where Abby was killed, when he vividly dreamt of the murders being committed by a tall man dressed in all black. He woke up only to see the man was in the room watching him.
Okay, I hate that. That one's spooky.
The man turned and walked through the door. Bernie raced after him and opened the door. And, like, it's not a far, like, you literally flip out of bed and open the door. Mm-hmm. And no one was there.
That's spooky.
And now we're going to visit the Freetown State Forest and its cult and crime activity.
Okay, I'm ready for a good old cult.
So the Freetown Fall River State Forest is the official name. Most people just call it the Freetown State Forest. It is in the southeast corner of the Triangle. It is not as famous as the Hockomock Swamp, but it is no less dark and foreboding. All around it has been, it's just, there is so much crime, including the Borden murders of 1892. And in my notes underneath, I said, "Nuff said." We're not going to do a Lizzie Borden part 4, people.
Right. We've talked about her enough this episode. We're done.
But also, in Fall River, in October 1979, the remains of Doreen Lavac, a sex worker, were found behind the bleachers of Diamond High School in Fall River with her hands bound behind her and her skull crushed. The next January, the remains of Barbara Raposa, another sex worker, were found in the same condition in the woods just like on the outskirts of the town.
Mm-hmm.
In April, the partial remains, and by partial remains, I mean parts of the skull, of Karen Marsden, another sex worker who was interviewed as a potential witness of Doreen Lavac's murder, were found in Westport, Massachusetts. Carl Drew, a local pimp, and Robin Murphy, another sex worker, were both arrested for the murders, and Murphy turned on Drew and alleged that the murders were ritual sacrifices for a satanic cult that Drew led. In the 1990s, a hidden bunker and log shack linked to the crimes were found in the Freetown State Forest with the remains of children's clothing, toys, satanic iconography, and ritual knives and blades.
That's a crazy story.
In 1978, cheerleader Mary Lou Arruda was kidnapped off her bike on her ride home and discovered months later murdered, tied to a tree in the state forest, and headless. James Cater was later arrested. In the 1980s, teens broke into the mausoleum of Angie Littlefield, removed her body, decapitated her to use her skull for a satanic ritual.
Okay,
and they were caught, and that's what they said.
What gets me is that they were teenagers. Like, what kind of teenagers are like, well, let's just join a Satanist cult real quick?
The police did say that they thought, like, one or two of them, like, it was a group of, like, 4.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, like, 1, 2, or, like, most of them were just, like, there for something to do. And, like, only, like, 1 or 2 of them were actually, like, yeah, we're Satanists.
They said, we just like to be a part of something. We like to feel like we're included.
Oh, and I forgot to mention the Fall River murders, the Doreen Lavac, Barbara Raposa, and Karen Marsden.
Mm-hmm.
That crime started Satanic Panic.
Really?
Yes. That's what set Satanic Panic off.
Okay, that's crazy.
In 1987, a drifter in the area was accused of being an undercover cop by local drug dealers. They shot him, dragged his body in the state forest, and lit it on fire.
Okay.
In 1988, the bodies of female drug users and sex workers were found throughout the state forest. By the end of the investigation, a dozen victims were linked to this case, but many feel there are many more victims whose bodies still remain lost in the forest. And in 1999, the bodies of a dozen calves, like baby cows, were found ritualistically slain and drained of their blood in one small area of the forest. And when I say one small area, I mean an area the size of your kitchen.
Now that's satanic. That's crazy.
And like that was the most, there was like years of animal sacrifice, like evidence of it being found in the forest. But that was like the most like, whoa.
Damn, Massachusetts. I didn't know she went like that. That's crazy about her.
And now we're going to circle back to the beginning
Okay.
and visit some of the sites within the triangle which hold links to the Wampanoag tribe. In 1928, Edward Telmar led an archaeological expedition of Grassy Island in the Hockomock Swamp and discovered an 8,000-year-old native burial ground. It is said that when they opened the tombs, the red ochre in the tombs mysteriously bubbled before disappearing, and every photo they tried to take of the excavation would not develop. When Loren Coleman visited the site while researching his 1983 book, he had similar camera issues where full batteries would go dead as he tried to take pictures on the island.
That's crazy. That's like classic ghost investigation, like signs there's something there.
On the bank across the Taunton River from the Grassy Island is Dighton Rock, which we discussed in the Newport Tower episode.
Yeah.
This rock is covered with strange markings variously attributed to the Native Americans, Vikings, Portuguese, and even ancient Egyptians.
Not the Egyptians. That's weird. That's so far away.
In the Freetown State Forest, there is a 227-acre reservation for the Wampanoags to use for ceremonies and gatherings. So they got some of their land back. Most of the Wampanoags, there is a tribe, there's a portion of them who live on Martha's Vineyard at Akinna Point. And then some of them live in the area, and there's this reservation for them to use to all gather for their ceremonies.
Yeah.
And the Freetown State Forest was another place that was hugely influential to them. Many people report feeling a higher positive power in the area, and a lot of people go there to meditate because of that. There are also reports in the reservation of phantom fires, disembodied drums, and EVP speaking Algonquin, which was the language the Wampanoag spoke.
I wonder how they knew it was Algonquin.
Well, I mean, there are people today who know, what Algonquin, sounds like.
Okay, I got you.
I don't think... Please, if I'm wrong, don't hate me. I didn't do any research on this. I don't think Algonquin is a language that is spoken a lot, but I think there are still people who can speak it and read it and translate it, especially Native Americans who have this heritage.
That makes sense.
Because despite what the white man tried, you cannot get rid of their culture.
That makes sense for sure.
And I respect that. Where was I? Oh, and many trail walkers in the area have seen what appears to be a Native American man running through the woods with no shirt and no shoes. And as he runs, he will levitate off the ground before disappearing. And he's not breaking stripes. He's just keep doing what he's doing, but he'll lift off the ground and then disappear.
That's wild.
Next, we're going to visit Profile Rock, which is also in the state forest. It is a granite outcropping the Wampanoags believe to be an image of Chief Massasoit, who is the father of King Philip. It is said that King Philip visited the rock the night before his death to pray to his father. And many people have reported seeing a man sitting cross-legged on the top of the rock meditating or praying. Or he is sometimes seen standing, watching from the top before disappearing. And this has been documented as being used as a lookout place by the Wampanoags during King Philip's War.
Okay, that's interesting.
One man who visited quite a lot would always see this man staying there. And one day as he approached, the man made eye contact with him and leapt off the rock. And this is big. And the guy who was watching this ran, and no one was at the bottom.
That's crazy.
Next, we're going to go to Rehoboth, to Anawan Rock, where General Anawan, who was the general to King Philip, surrendered to Captain Benjamin Church. And remember from the beginning, not only was this the end of the war, but this was the greatest betrayal of the Wampanoags, because Anawan negotiated fair treatment for himself and the Wampanoags, and they were later murdered, sold into slavery. And it is said that the rock likes some people and gives them a very positive feeling, make them feel warm and happy to be there, and dislikes others. It will make them feel very fearful and like they're being watched to get them to go away.
Okay.
Also reported here are phantom fires, ghostly drums, and disembodied native chants. One paranormal researcher reported seeing figures flitting through the trees, and when she turned around to follow their path, she came face to face with a gray, semi-transparent, elderly Native American man who looked back at her, like they made conscious eye contact. And when she looked down to grab her camera, she looked down, picked it up, and he was gone. And she believes this was the ghost of Anawan.
Okay.
It is also reported that King Philip Ghost wanders the Hockomock Swamp looking for his lost head and will not rest until he finds it. And at Assawampset Pond, the ghost of John Sassamon can be seen walking on the water of the pond where his body was found. The last place we are going to visit is the Assonet Ledge, also in the Freetown State Forest. And it is one of the most gruesome places in the state forest. Over the centuries, many people have come here to leap off the cliff into the water below to commit suicide. Many people who visit it report feeling a sudden urge to jump while up there. Others report seeing a ghostly woman in white leaping. This is believed to be the ghost of a woman whose lover never showed up and she jumped rather than facing life without him. And the location is often said to be a spot where puckwudgies will lure victims to their death by possessing them or forcing them to jump off into the dark waters below. Take a breath.
That's so spooky.
I am trying to chug through this because I have so much information.
Right.
We're at the end. We are at the end. I'm so sorry. I know this is long, but we are at the end.
I will say that I have a similar cliff in my hometown called Lover's Leap, where people go and commit suicide, and apparently there was this couple that committed suicide jumping off the cliff. So I feel like there's a lot of places that have similar stories to that cliff where people go and commit suicide. In the Puckwudgie, I feel like the Puckwudgie is its own episode.
No, I'm going to tell you about the Puckwudgie right now.
Okay, cool. Let's get into it.
The Puckwudgie is a human-like creature in the Wampanoag belief system. They are described as being 3 to 4 feet tall and have the ability to appear, disappear at will, and shapeshift. Mostly they shapeshift into a creature who appears like a hedgehog from the back and a troll in the front.
Okay, same. Me too. Relatable.
They can control lights, create fires, and use magic. Originally, they were mischievous tricksters who liked to play pranks on humans. Eventually, they became evil, attacking and killing humans, possibly for their love of the giant Maushop, a creator figure within their religion. Maushop and his 5 sons tried to hunt down and kill the Puckwudgies, but the clever Puckwudgies outwitted them and killed all 5 of his sons.
I wonder if the Puckwudgies are members of the Fae.
It's very that.
It's giving the Fae.
It's giving
fairy.
It's giving fair folk. The Puckwudgies are known for luring their victims with balls of light or magic to cliffs to cause them to jump, or to the foot of cliffs and drop boulders on top of them.
Okay.
One woman saw a Puckwudgie while walking her dog. When the usually brave guard dog cowered, she turned and ran away. That night, she woke to see the Puckwudgie staring at her through her bedroom window, smiling at her.
Okay, that's scary. That's so spooky.
A young man encountered strange balls of light and followed them into an overgrown part of the forest. There, he saw a little troll with long hair. He ran away and became lost for some time before finding his way back to the road. A few nights later, he was sleeping in his car when he woke up to see the troll was smiling at him through his side mirror.
You never go into the forest. Don't follow the Fae into the forest, girl.
Another woman was on a paranormal investigation at Assonet Ledge, and she was allegedly possessed by a Puckwudgie, and it was captured on film. And we can cut this out on the audio.
I need to see this.
I'm going to show it to you.
I need to see this film of the Pukwudgie on film.
You can't see the Pukwudgie. It's just the possession.
Girl, I don't give a... Okay.
This is why they're...
Ron, watch her going back too far. Come on, Maureen, fight. Oh, come on, Maureen. Don't let her go back too far, Ron.
Don't let her get in the water.
Yeah.
Maureen. 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 Maureen.
It's giving, like, demonic possession.
Leave this boy. You need to leave this boy. It's not your own. Leave. Come here. Leave. Leave it. Leave the Father and the Son, the Holy Spirit. Leave this boy. Leave it. Leave it. Push him out.
Okay, yes, that reminds me of demonic possession for sure.
And now for the most disturbing of the Pukwudgie stories and our last story of the episode.
Okay.
This is the story of Bill Russo. He worked a 3 p.m. to midnight shift, and when he got home, he would always walk his Rottweiler Shepherd mix Samantha, also called Sammy. This particular night, he decided that he was going to walk along the path cut through the woods for high-tension electrical wires.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't an actual path, it was like a wide swath for the wires. And he was like, I'm just going to walk down it. After half a mile, he came to an old mill water wheel where there was a street lamp that cast a wide circle of light. As they approached the lamp, Sammy began to cower and refused to go further. Bill tried to coax her when he heard a high-pitched voice calling to him. It was saying, "Ewan Chu, Ewan Chu, Kier, Kier." He looked up to see a figure step into the light. It was 3 feet tall, and at first he thought it was a child. He then noticed it was covered in hair and had a pot belly. He said it looked old for whatever it was, had large eyes, and a chipmunk face. It was beckoning to him, saying, "Kier, Ewan Chu, Kier, Kier, Ewan Chu," emphatically. Bill and Sammy turned and ran back home. Bill stayed up all night, too afraid to sleep, thinking about the encounter. Hours later, he realized what the creature was saying. "Kier, Kier, Ewan Chu, come here, we want you."
Yeah, I was gonna say that. It sounds like we want you, yeah.
No one knows what causes the activity in the triangle. Theories put forward are ley lines, a Native American curse put by King Philip, the restlessness of the Wampanoag ghost wanting the return of their sacred wampum, the buildup of dark history absorbing into the geography, or even that some dark evil inhabits the land from time immemorial. All that we do know is that as time goes on, the boundaries originally plotted by Lauren Coleman are slowly expanding outward.
Okay, that's ominous. Not the slowly expanding outward.
Yeah, like more and more reports are like...
That's crazy. And it's so crazy because, like, when you think of Massachusetts and you think of paranormal, you think of Salem, Massachusetts as, like,
Right.
the lots. But then you have this whole...
Or even, like, places in Boston.
Right. This whole fucking... Wait, Boston is in the triangle?
No, Boston is not, but, like, certain areas in Boston, like, are notably haunted.
Okay. See, Massachusetts is a crazy state, I'm realizing.
Yeah, this is, like,
You got Salem, you got...
200,000 miles.
Right.
Square miles.
That's a big place, and to have all this, like, haunted shit. Now, on a lighter note, I feel like Disney or Pixar should pick up the Pukwudgie thing and make it into an animated film.
There is a children's story about Pukwudgies.
Okay.
And it's, like, very cute and fluffy, but, like, the Wampanoags are, like, they're not cute and fluffy.
When I think of Pukwudgie, I think of, like, the Lorax a little bit. I feel like the Lorax is what the Pukwudgie would look like. And, yeah.
Just to give you an idea, this is the state of Massachusetts, and you can see the triangle.
Oh, wow.
It's a huge, like, area.
I didn't realize Massachusetts was that big. Holy shit.
I mean, it's a smaller state.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, when you look at, in terms of the state, that's a huge area.
Mm-hmm.
So, Paul, smash or pass a puckwudgie?
Oh my gosh. Mom, turn off for this one. I'm about to use a puckwudgie as a
Oh my god. I'm gonna hard pass puckwudgie. That Bill Russo story was the first story I heard about the Bridgewater Triangle, and I've been terrified since. Just the he wants you here. Just like if something was trying to speak English to me, no.
See, that doesn't scare me. That doesn't spook me.
It freaks me the fuck
That
out.
would comfort me. If something was speaking like my same language and things, that would comfort me.
But no, this is something that obviously does not speak English, and it has learned English.
Okay, but call back to Travis Walton. If the aliens started speaking English, that would comfort me. Something that might not be speaking English.
Yes, but you're in a spaceship. If you're walking and you see a 3-foot hairy being trying to speak English to you.
See, that's even more comforting.
No, I don't want it to speak to me.
Yeah, why not? You're on your home turf, bitch.
I don't want it to speak to me.
This is your hometown,
Don't talk
girl.
to me. If you are a puckwudgie, if you are listening to this and you're a puckwudgie, please don't talk to me.
Wow.
I will freak the fuck out. I will shit my pants.
Oh my gosh, DJ hates puckwudgies.
I'm terrified of puckwudgies.
The puckwudgie community is quaking.
I am terrified of them. No, I don't.
Why? For what?
They lure people off cliffs.
Bitch, just don't go near any cliffs. It's not
What if
that
they
real.
possess me? You literally watched that woman named Maureen get possessed.
Girl, one thing about me is I'm not stressing about no puckwudgie.
That's true. We live in Pennsylvania, not
Right.
Massachusetts.
Even if I was in Massachusetts, they could bring it. What I need to see, I'll start stressing when I see the puckwudgie.
And then you'll be like, don't speak English to me.
No, even speak English to me. Let's talk, girl. Let's talk it out, you know?
Paul's going to be there with the puckwudgie. So, what was it that made you turn evil?
Right.
Was it because Mouse Shop did not love you enough? Or was it because the people did not love you?
That is interesting that they have their whole own religion. That's crazy to me. That's so interesting.
I mean, it's part of their... So,
the puckwudgies have their own religion.
So, Mouse Shop is like a creator figure in their belief system. And puckwudgies are part of that story. It's like if you're a Christian, like Noah's Ark.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So, Mouse Shop is part of the Native American religion, though.
Yeah, he's like a creator figure.
Okay, see, that makes sense. Huh. I don't know. I'd like to see a puckwudgie. If you're a puckwudgie, come on the pod. We'll have you as a guest.
No.
You can tell us where the trauma started.
No,
You can clear some shit up. Let us know what's good.
But yeah, that is the Bridgewater Triangle. Thank you for bearing through that with me.
No, there was some interesting stuff in there.
Oh, it's hugely interesting.
I want to go see it. I want to go to this triangle, and I want to see some spooky shit.
I mean, when we go to Fall River, it's right there.
And when this episode comes out, it's in the middle of July, so maybe something spooky is coming.
Oh, I hope so.
I guess our listeners will have to wait and see what's coming in the future.
Yes. But yeah, I don't know how long this went on, but that's our little smorgasbord of
The Bridgewater Triangle.
Please, if you have personal stories, whether they're about the Bridgewater Triangle, Hockomock Swamp, Freetown State Forest, or puckwudgies, or not related, and you want to share them, please email us at cripsandcorks.com, or if you have story suggestions, you can also submit them there. If you're listening to this on any of our audio only, Spotify, Apple Music, etc., in the description, there's a link where you can text us. Please give us episode suggestions or comments on the episode there. Please follow us on all of our social media at Facebook and Twitter at Crips and Corks, at Instagram or TikTok at Crips and Corks Pod. And if you'd like to donate to Gaza Relief, you can do so at www.unicef.org. Paul, where can they find you?
You can find me at my personal Instagram at Paulember, Paulember, or my personal TikTok at Paulember, Paulember. And as usual, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno. And Pixar or Disney, if you make a Puckwudgie movie, I am requesting 75% of the profits.
Jesus. And if you'd like to follow me, you can find me on TikTok or on Instagram at TheRealTeachPowers. And to revive a dead joke, you are more than welcome to slide into my DMs unless you're a Puckwudgie.
Period.
And remember, especially if you're the Bridgewater Triangle, keep your crips tight.
And your corks loose. Bye!
Use a Puckwudgie as a you sicko.
Oh my gosh.